Okay, good evening, everyone. When Pastor called me and said, "Oh, sure, that is good to have a wife." Hmm. Caleb, take notes. You just gave me the sign, and I knew. When Pastor called me and said I should discuss about finances, I thought to myself, I'm not a financial guru. I studied medicine. I didn't study finances. I'm not a banker. And if I go by where I come from, you know that I'm the wrongest person to talk about money. For those of you who don't know, I'm an Ijebu man. But the Bible says, "No, we no man after the flesh." So every stinginess cannot have any attachment. Because if you are stingy, you will ultimately be poor. I'm telling you, guaranteed. You know. So before we go on, so one of the things in fact, Pastor almost finished my plans. Because one of the things I told myself, I said, when I'm sharing, I'm not going to use personal examples. Because I've realized that when you use personal examples, instead of people to catch the principle, they're looking and saying, "Hey, so that's how the man does with his wife." People just kind of take the gist. But the issue, hey, so he gives his wife, or hey, So I told myself, I'm not going to use, so help me. If I try and use personal example, just stop me. So that we can learn some of these principles. But you see, my plan is just to be able to provoke discussions, just like my brother did. Give us some principles so that we can, build upon. Now, before I start, I want to do something. For those of you who have cash, can you bring out any amount in your wallet? Any amount. Okay, those who don't have cash. No, no. Communication. You see what happened? I only cleared my throat and she took it as some. See, you're already acting the communication. Okay, so all of you, please bring out cash. If you have cash, it doesn't matter what amount, it doesn't matter. Let's do that quickly. If you don't have, if I feel led by the Spirit, okay, I feel led by the Spirit. See, people. Now everybody is raising their, even CBN. Can you imagine? CBN is raising his hand. No, 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 no. Even if I'm led, I, I will. I cannot see. No, I cannot see that hand. I can't see it. Okay, so for those who have cash, if I don't have, because I have like 27 minutes left, if I cannot get to the end, let me show you where I think I want to land by saying that money, let's say it, money, you will not be an issue in my home. You will be a servant in my home. You will not be a master in my home. As you have spoken, the Lord will hear and answer. Honestly, if that is all you can get from me today, my assignment is done. Just to demystify money, give it its rightful place. I'm amazed at how we have so elevated it. You see all sorts of things now. I saw one video, WhatsApp, whether true or false. 3 guys, they say it was one bank in Epe. They went with adult diapers. You saw it too. The juju man, the jazz man told them that once you go in adult diapers towards the ATM, money will just come out. I mean, how stupid. I mean, can you just receive from ATM if you don't have input? And they went with adult diapers. And then the one that we are poo-pooing and using. Oh. Okay, so let me quickly run through. Now, media, I need those slides. People don't need to see my face. This thing is not. Ah. Okay, can you just help me change if this is not working? Okay, help me change. Just keep moving. It's not working here. Okay, So, like I said, I may not be able to get through all this, but this is just the outline that I wanted. Okay, it seems to be working. Now, who remembers these 6 principles of money? For those who are in GLA. Okay, some people remember. Where was the pastor preached this message? Where were we? CD Plaza, yes. In fact, did you raise your hand at that time when I was saying confession of money? Because I think you deserve. Yes, Pastor taught this when we were in Sedi Plaza. We used to meet in Sedi Plaza on Wednesdays, and he took time to teach this. So money must be earned, must be saved, it must be tithed, it must be given away, it must be invested, it must be enjoyed. Those are the principles of money. And when I was thinking of this, I thought to myself, we can just stay here and finish this our discussion, because all these also apply to finances in the home. But let's go on. Now, this particular couple were somewhere in one garden, for those who can see who this couple is, they were in one garden. Unfortunately, it's not in Abuja. And we met someone who just made a statement. And I'm going to present that statement and see whether you agree or not. Part of, before I knew that I was going to speak this evening, I was going to appeal for time tomorrow morning. Incidentally, I just got a security alert from my office, that the restriction of movement has been lifted. So we could have had, we could have had tomorrow's session. But how be it? So, happy wife, happy life. Do we agree? It's only the women I'm hearing, Pastor Alexa. See communication. I mean, that speaks, like you said. That's what they say. But what do you say? Like Peter said, when Jesus asked them, what do men say? They say, what do you say? It's I think it's true for us men. If your wife can be happy in the home, you will live a happy life. Honestly. And one of the ways that a woman can be happy is when there is happiness around money issues. Who are those clapping? I suspect they may be women. I'm sure there are women clapping. But it doesn't have to be one way because okay, so I just did some research. Some of you may know John D. Rockefeller. He was one of the richest men in his day, in the US. And one interviewer asked him at the time, how much money is enough? I know how he replied, just a little bit more. But you see, there's a fundamental thing about what he said. Because you think that with all his wealth, because at that time, I was even reading statistics, the man was worth about 93 million in the 19th century. He was born in 1846. So you can imagine at 1900, he already was worth $93 million in those days, So someone like that was limitless when it came to money. But when they asked him, he said, just a little bit more. And I'm sure most of us feel that way, If only I just had a little bit more, maybe my budget would have some breathing room. Maybe I'll be satisfied. But in my language, there's a saying for those who are Yoruba. They say, "Owo ntolowo." Money is never enough. So if you think, I don't have enough today, maybe when I have a little bit more, then I'll be content. There is news for you. Because what then happens is, let's take aviation. Some of us have enough money to fly. And you feel like me, I'm a man of the people, so we stay in economy. But then, I know I'm very humble. Okay, Yeah, no personal example. I was going to use an example with my wife now. So you sit in economy, but at times, they open that curtain so you can see into business class. Say, Kai, one day if I have money, I will. Meanwhile, the person sitting in business class, if there's a first class, also thinks, one day if I can, first class. Then the person who can afford first class, the other day my daughter was browsing, said, Daddy, I saw first class from US to Nigeria, $13,000. I just perished that thought. Now, you sit in first class, and then he's also miserable, thinking, my mates have private jets. So you can see that if you think just a little bit more money will just solve all your problems, it is not correct. Okay? So the truth is, control over money has less to do with how much we make and a lot more to do with how we manage what we have. There's a scriptural principle. Jesus said, if you are faithful in little, then you'll be faithful in much. So if you have 1,000 naira and you cannot apply those 6 principles, which we'll go into, don't think when I make 1 million, then I'll be able to do things, but when I have little money, no. But you remember when Jesus was looking over the treasury and people were giving, and then one widow came and gave her 2 mites. You know what Jesus said? And that's why, at times we've taken it wrongly in English language. You say, hey, let me give my widow's mite. If you say that, do you know what you're actually saying? You are emptying your account. You are giving your all. So be very careful when you say widow's mite or something little. No, the woman gave her all. And Jesus remarked, he said, out of the abundance, all these people have given, but this woman has given her all. So in the eyes of God, that woman gave more than those who had more and they gave a little. So it's not about how much you make. How do you manage what you have is more important. And financial health is important not only to our bank balance, but to the atmosphere in our home. One of the things... this thing is not cooperating. Okay, one of the things, again, no personal example. But you see, one of the things I've realized is, after some time, money in the account is just figures. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, let me use this one personal example. There was something we wanted to do, and we needed to spread out money for those who understand when there are limits. So we sent money to my son's account. And we had a discussion after that how did you feel when you had all those zeros in the account? And nothing, no big deal. So you realize that after some time, it's just figures. It doesn't make you, it's like blow your head because I have 1,000 or if I have 10. It just becomes figures. So, money is a medium of exchange for everything we know. Bible says money answers all matters, but not all things answer to money. As long as we live in this world, it's indispensable. It's just our means of communication. And like Pastor said, a dispute over money matters is a common problem in marriage. Let me ask, how many of you have never had issues about money with your spouse? Raise your hand. You've never had issues. It's difficult for me to say. I once entered a lift in this Abuja, one of these hotels in Asokoro. And one young guy, he was talking and saying, it's impossible for a man. Men were built to be promiscuous. You can't just stay with one woman. And I looked at him and I said, hello, look at me. I've been married 27 years, one woman. He looked at me and, he saw the white beard. He was almost to say, I know you cannot lie, sir. I said, don't worry, I'm not lying. I've just blown your theory. If you think men are just naturally, it's not all men. Okay? So, but maybe you guys are a rare breed. And like Pastor-elect John said, the fact that I said you've not had issues, it depends on what you mean by issues. You understand what I mean? It's not the one that you have fought yourself to a standstill. And I was young. One day, as young as I was, my father was an Anglican bishop. One man came. And the way the house was then, for those who know Marina Bishop Scott in right in the heart of Marina. We didn't live on the ground floor, so first and second and third floors. So we just heard this man saying, "Now, will you leave my shirt alone?" They came all the way from their home. The woman was still holding onto his shirt. True story, oh, I'm not true story. I don't even know what the issue was, but I can suspect it's money. So more marriages have blown apart over financial issues than almost any factor, honestly. Although you talked about the fact about communication, but you see, even in the communication, there are money matters, you know. So we need to recognize that managing money is a spiritual issue. Let's not just bring it to just the physical. Do you have or I don't have? There's something spiritual about money. If Jesus spoke more about money, he actually spoke more about money than any other topic. I mean, if you want, you can do the research. 15% of all the recorded words of Jesus are the subject of money, more than his teachings on heaven and hell combined. Because he created us. He knows our proclivities. He knows our tendencies. You know, see a man, just give him some small breakthrough. He becomes, like we say today, money means road. But if you have worked for your money, it's very unlikely you will show off. Have you seen all these videos? You see also some with like a gun, just shooting out money in a party. Some they'll just stand. And I think to myself, the kind of work my wife and I do, meeting from morning to night, you're cracking your brain, you're writing report, and then I'll come to a party and I'll just, didn't you see some restriction when I was saying how many people have? Okay. When you work hard for something, you don't just flaunt it anyhow, honestly. So let me quickly run. Okay, so we'll deal with something about attitude towards money in the home. Jesus, our attitude towards money is of utmost importance to Jesus because it also reflects your attitude towards God. Because Jesus said something. He said, you cannot serve God and mammon. I mean, can you imagine him comparing two things? He didn't say God and ice cream or God and woman or God and wealth or God and jewelry. He used mammon, and we know that mammon is beyond physical. So one of the things we need to do now, practically speaking, discuss money openly. Thank God our Pastor Joy has talked about communication. How many of us can discuss money openly in our homes? I want to embarrass the men now, and I'll say, how many men do their wives know how much they earn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I'm sure there are more than five men. You understand what I'm saying? How many men do their wives know their source and sources of wealth? Okay, same. No, thank God for the men here. They are lifting up their hands. How many men do their wives have access to their bank accounts? The hands are slightly less now. The hands are less. How many men have joint accounts with their wives? Just 2. So you can see how the thing is just dropping. Just dropping and dropping. But remember our prayer in the beginning that this money will not be an issue. It will not be a master and it will just be a servant. So one of the things that you can do to manage money is to discuss money openly between you and your spouse. And after some time, it will then reflect or flow to your children. When permit me to use this personal example. When my first son was going to enter university and he didn't study in this country, was when he had to know the state of the finances of his parents. And that was when his respect for us began to increase, because he realized that it was a lot of sacrifice. You can see, I was telling Pastor Tino at the turn of the year, You know what happened during COVID, and I was doing all sorts of odd drinks. This is one of them. You know, I tell especially my daughter, I said to her, I will pick that thing online, put it in a basket, and leave it there. The day they do flash sale, 50 to 75% off, I buy it. you know, so it's something that I have realized that once you get to a stage that you have money, but you don't have to use it for anything, then you have mastered money. Maybe I should say that in a different way. The fact that I can afford this bottle of water, but I do not buy it, already shows you are disciplined and you are mastering and conquering money. I'm at a stage with my daughter now, because there are times I said, oh, you need this, should I send it now? She says, no, Daddy, don't send it yet. Because she knows herself. Once that thing hits her account, but she will learn, because she's almost graduating and she's going to start work when OPM, other people's money, that's her parents' money, is no longer entering her account and she has to manage her own account. She will learn. Because there are too many people that once money enters, but the Lord will help us in Jesus' name. So we need to avoid. Now I understand what Pastor, when he's preaching, I say, where's the time? How is the time running? We need to avoid selfishness, and we note that we are only stewards of God's money. John 3, I believe, verse 27 says that no man can receive anything but that is first be given from above, or given of God. I don't quote it verbatim. So even those people that boast, my money, if God did not give you the ability, this Rockefeller actually studied. The man was a Baptist. With all his wealth, he attended Bible study twice, led Bible study in his home, and came to the conclusion that making money was his God-given gift. He gave out money to churches. So it's no surprise that till tomorrow there's a foundation, and he defined what philanthropy is today. I work for a philanthropic organization, but he started it in the 19th century. So you can imagine, with so much wealth, 2 Bible studies a week. How many of you are attending mountain service here? Let me poke you like pastor. So note that you're only stewards of God's money. Spend it according to God's wishes and God's word. You are accountable to Him. So, quickly going, we need to... Okay, so now I think I may not be able to go beyond this, but let me just quickly say, this is almost like what Pastor shared the other time. So, can you bring back the slide? Yes. Let me jump to number 4th bullet point about liabilities and obligations. So in managing your finances properly by budgeting, these are some of the areas that can guide us. So practical steps: God first, savings or some investment, addressing your needs, not wants, liabilities, obligations, extra, and then buying food in bulk. Now, let me talk quickly about liabilities. If you read 2 Kings chapter 4, it starts with a crisis, like our brother has preached. A woman, her husband has just died, one of the prophets. Now the man left her in debt. And in those days, if you read Exodus, Leviticus, if you cannot repay, they can't, take your children so that they work and all that. So she was in a crisis, and she appealed to the man of God, and the man of God said, okay, what do you have? Go and borrow all these cruises of oil, okay? And shut your door and begin to fill. And she borrowed and filled and he filled and filled until the last, there was no more. Now, verse 7 says something, and is very instructive. He said to the woman, go and sell the oil, meaning go and earn the money. Go and earn. Money must be earned. Don't be fooled by what happens with our leaders now. Just let me become a politician and enter one house or somewhere, and then you need to earn. Then, the next thing he told her, go and pay off your debt. And then the last thing he said in that verse 7, leave off the rest. So please, to manage your finances, there are times you need to borrow. That is, of course, the financial gurus will tell us there is enabling debt and disabling. Let me just quickly give examples. If I borrow because I have a business contract but I don't have enough to execute it, I can borrow money from the bank, execute it, and then repay. It's an enabling debt. But if, like where I come from, if you approach the typical Ijebu person, my child wants to go to school, please help me, they don't have money. But let your grandfather's, auntie's, mother's cousin die, and you want to do funeral, they are very happy to lend money to you. Okay? But that is crippling. If you borrow money to go and do party, or borrow money to just so that you give an impression. I want to also make, like we say, they will take. Wagba. They will take. That, me too, I did that party. If you do that, that is a disabling and crippling debt. Please don't do it. Okay? So, 2 Corinthians 4:7 is a principle. I mean, not 2 Corinthians, 2 Kings. Earn the money, pay off your debt. So, if you are in debt, any money that first comes, please, it is not yours. Pay off your debt and then leave off the rest. I think on last Sunday, the man of God that preached said something. It's a scripture. It says it's the wicked that borrows and doesn't repay. So don't come here and be saying, I'm a child of God. This. If you are in debt and you have money and you are not repaying, you are wicked. And you know what Psalm 7, I think verse 11 says? God is angry with the wicked every day. Go and read it. It's not my scripture. So see how the people's faces are hard towards me now. Thank God I'm not God. He said it. So please, it's a principle. I've seen too many people borrow money and then they start justifying why they shouldn't repay. You are wicked, according to God. So extra, now, 3 minutes. Okay, so give to God first, okay? Proverbs 3:9 tells us that give him your first fruits. As Christians, our first financial priority should be the work of the Lord. Have you ever received money? And what is the first thing that comes to your mind? That breakthrough comes. Alert. Boah. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? That I should be there, go take when I sow it. Let's check ourselves. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when money comes? Do you think of God at all? Do you think of his work? They make a call. We need to send these missionaries. We need to do this. And at the end, they talk. When I first finish my own, then if there's enough change, then, but God wants us to have him first. And that's why he says, give him of your first fruits, of everything first. I remember during October to Power, I had the privilege of leading prayer, and I use this example, and women can relate to it. Imagine you have a house help. You have slaved in the kitchen. You have cooked this very nice soup. I remember I went to Mama's house one day, and she cooked this scriptural food. They call it fisherman soup. Oh, my goodness. That food is scriptural. I'm telling you. I'm sure it's angel's food. And then you've just finished cooking. And then your housemaid now takes a shibi and takes the first. I mean, women, how would you feel? You can't think about it. Mama said that girl is gone. So there's something about it with our money with God. When money comes in your hand, do you think of God as God first? I need to, this money has come. Okay, first God. Let's be very honest. How many think that way? I'm challenging us. Me inclusive. It's not, don't see it as if, I'm a person like you. I'm not pastor. Thank God, I'm not even elect. I'm a deacon. And I deacon. Okay, let me just quickly run and see how far I can go before my time is up. Okay, no. Which one is okay? Okay, so I'm just talking about giving to God first, the importance. Now, tithe, again, this has become the elephant in the room. Again, my own is, if you love God, you will tithe. If you love Daddy Freeze, listen to him and don't tithe. The choice is yours, But something that has happened is people who tithe seem to be better off, than those who don't. It's one of the mysteries of God's work. And I ask a question. Have you ever heard anyone say that their financial problems started or got worse once they started to tithe? Of course, if you can't answer this, it shows you are not tithing because you don't have the experience, so you cannot talk. But honestly, when my wife and I analyze, you know that there's something mysterious about tithing. And it's not, and mark me, it's not about law, it's about love. If you love God, you will tithe. My time is up, so let me see if I can just rush through. Of course, it's important to be able to save so that you have something you can draw on for future. Do not plan your savings after you are spent. Plan to save before you spend. Of course, again, some financial gurus like Brother FLS will tell you he doesn't believe in savings, it's investment, but at least learn to save a little. Don't blow everything in your account. Okay? Okay, spend on needs and not on wants. Very important. What do you need? Spend on that. And then you can prioritize what you want. Time is just... Okay, housekeeping. I thought let me talk about some of the very practical things. The mode of operation should be discussed and mutually agreed upon. If you, in your own home, there's an amount allocated for housekeeping, that's fine. In some homes, there's no fixed amount. It is as the needs arise. We all know that you will need to buy food, buy water, buy certain things, So again, let's be realistic and let it not be the husband that is so detached and the wife has to be writing a proposal to him. And you are not a company or organization, that for this month, this is what we need. You have to justify it. Can't you buy it cheaper? Please let us be gracious as men if you are the one, Again, I just talk about financial headship. A man is the leader of the home. Even if he's not the one that brings in the most, it's his responsibility to head financial issues. Now, head doesn't mean he's the all in all, but he should also be involved and head. Of course, the other extreme is some people are all they think is they've made money and just throw it at the family and you never see them. There's a popular person here is the richest in Nigeria. It was his wife that divorced him. Not because of money, but he just wasn't there. He wasn't there, So it gets to a stage that it's not all about money. You just need that relationship. Again, let's try as much as possible to avoid lack of money. Someone said when you're having anxiety, palpitations, you can't breathe too well, you're sighing. It's not COVID. Check the financial status. Some of those things have a way of... But on a serious note, when there's lack of money, it's a lot of quarrel and tension. So, and that's why when we come to that principle, it has to be earned. You cannot be in marriage and be, sit on your bed. Yes, I received 10 million pounds. Where will it come from? God doesn't manufacture money in heaven. It's not manna that he will rain down. He is the master of orchestrating. So if you tap into his principles, he will orchestrate it that, opportunities will come and money will come your way. But never all this, I receive, Better go and walk. The Bible says if you do not walk, you shouldn't eat. Okay. Now, of course, dangers of covetousness. This is also very important. People like to look at others. In fact, one of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not covet. And if you begin to covet other people's things, what they have, what happens is there's dissatisfaction. Unreasonable demands start being made. Didn't you see Labaja's husband or wife? See, so you see, what are you doing? You can't even give me, you can't buy me this kind of car. It becomes unreasonable because you are coveting, you murmur, there's misspending, and then borrowing. This is another thing. I said it earlier. Never borrow to maintain a lifestyle. If you cannot afford it, like they say in my language, let them spit up and use their head to collect the spit. Those who know Yoruba know what I'm talking about. I could care less. One example, the young doctor, I had one beetle. Oh my goodness. I almost became a mechanic myself. The problems that car gave me, I knew about the engine of beetle. And my child went to one of the, top private schools. So my first son, when everybody is driving him, I was driving my beetle. And you see cars, big cars. Well, that is all I can afford. So why should I be ashamed? Please never borrow to maintain any lifestyle. Don't covet. And then I think the last thing is about the dangers of comparison. Again, don't compare yourself. We always say the grass looks greener on the other side. It's because that person is tending it. You don't know what their own issues are. I say, can't you see those people? They just look, in French, they'll say, il a l'air. It looks, you just don't know. Thank God for what you have and be satisfied. 2 Corinthians 10:12 says this. Don't compare yourselves because you are not wise. And I think that should be. So in conclusion, always discuss finances as a couple. One spouse may have more sorry, it's clearer here. Didn't know it was this small up there. So let me quickly conclude. So one spouse likely has more financial skills than the other and will naturally take the lead, but there's no excuse for the other spouse not to be involved in the family financial situation. Men, don't abdicate your role. Women, don't just look at that man as is your own responsibility. In fact, there's a concept now in this our Gen X, or what they call it, Gen Z. Which one? Gen which one? Gen Z. The women just think that the man should just provide for them. So you give your God-given person and personality, you become a liability. So when you now enter that marriage and the man treats you like a liability, you start complaining. So please, we need to be involved. Everything we have comes from God. He owns it and he entrusts it to us for his purpose. True financial success comes not from accumulating a large surplus in our bank account, but from following God's plans for our finances. Above all, listen to what God may be saying to you through your financial circumstances, just like what our brother John was talking about. So even if you have a financial crisis, now we begin to understand. Let's listen to what God is saying at those times. What lessons can you learn so that you can become better? Finances can be a dividing factor in marriage. I think we've established that, but they can also bring you together in a new and deeper way as you trust God together and follow his plan. As we do this, he will provide for all our needs. And I think there's one quote I got from one of the WhatsApp groups I belong. It says, the most difficult task is to make everybody happy. That's including your spouse. The simplest task is to be happy with everyone. End of story. Thank you so much for your time.